So, hello everyone, good evening to all. Just confirm me once that my voice is audible. Okay, sir, just confirm me one more thing that my voice is loud now. Everything is fine because I have received certain concern from the participants while watching the recordings. The sound is on a lower side. So, just confirm me once that now my voice is perfect. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your response. Also, I'll try to speak in louder so that it will be helpful for all of us. Okay, thank you, sir. So, in between the session, if you found any issue, in that case, yes, you can post it in the chat box. We'll work on that. Okay, okay, on YouTube also. Okay. So, today we'll start our discussion. Sir, today we'll start our discussion on the sections part, on the provisions part. Okay. In first three sessions, we have covered the specific basics on the GST, why GST, what GST. Okay. We have covered the various ledgers which is available on GST in common portal, various returns which is available on GST in common portal, the outward supply, output tax, inward supply, input tax. We have also covered the composition scheme and the normal scheme. We have also covered the forward charge and reverse charge mechanism, and also we have covered certain basics related to the supply. Okay, now all these things are basics and the base of our GST comprehensive course. Now we'll start our discussion on the sections on the provisionals related part. So first of all, I request everyone that if possible for you, in that case, while watching this class, you just need to keep your notebook with you and also your book study material with you, that is the GST comprehensive book. Okay, digestive GST cases not required, the question compendium not required. Now we just required our this, that is a book which is completely based on the law, which is required. Okay, definitive guide to GST. So carry with you, and if it is not possible to carry, in that case also okay, just keep one notebook with you so that if I suggest any point, then you can write the same. Okay, although when we'll discuss any point, any provision, I will try to provide you the reason of that provision, and also I will try to provide you the practical implication of that provision. YouTube also, any query you are free to raise the same in the chat box. Let's start our discussion from the constitutional background. You can say this is also a very basic part, but we should know this constitutional background as well. First of all, I just want to say one thing, sir. What is the importance of this constitutional backgrounds? Because I need to file the GST return, I need to handle the compliances, I need to handle the litigations. Why I need to read this constitutional background, or why I need to know this constitutional background? Sir, if you have checked certain judgments which has been pronounced by the Honorable High Court, Supreme Court, double AR authority, triple AR authority, in that case, in 30 to 40% of the judgments, मैं सारे के सारे जजमेंट्स में से 30 to 40% judgments are merely based on the article 14, that is fundamental right. They are based on this specific thing. So we should know the important articles which is there in our constitution and which are very much relevant to our GST, because whenever you will go for the litigations, you need to know all these type of provisions, all these type of articles. Okay, so today we'll just try to understand from where this GST law is here. So now, as we all know, there are total three lists are there in our constitution. One is list number one, in which the parliament has power to make the laws. Second list, in which the state government has power to make the laws, and third list, in which the both, that means the parliament and the state government, both have power to make the laws. First list, Parliament has power to make the laws. That means in these lists they have provided certain list of activities, that if there will be a matter related to these specific activities, then the Parliament has power to make the laws. In list second, they have provided the activities in which the state government has power to make the laws, and in third list they have provided the activities in which both has power to make the laws. Now, sir, for your kind information, we all know we have two acts basically. One is CGST Act, another is SGST Act. IGST Act is also there, UTGST Act is also there. But just for our understanding, why there is requirement of two separate acts? One is Central GST Act, another is State GST Act, because we have multiple states in our country, and if state is going to implement a specific provision, or state is going to provide a specific relief to that particular state, in such a scenario they should mention the same in the respective state act. Also, there is a segregation of the revenue between the center and between the state, because there may be chances that the transaction is initiating from a particular state and the consumption will be in another state, so there is requirement of distribution of revenue as well. We have one base law, that is Central GST Act. State GST Act is same as it is, cut, copy and paste of Central GST Act, but if state government wants any changes in that act, the same can be permissible. That means under GST, the central government and state government both has power to make the laws. Am I right? So for that purpose, government has introduced one specific article, that is called as article number 246A. And in that article 246A, government has given the concurrent power to the parliament and the state government to make the laws regarding GST. That means हम बोलते हैं the governing body, the GST, which is there in front of us, is due to the CGST Act, SGST Act, IGST Act. Yes, but the root cause is your article number 246A. Through this article number 246A, these CGST, SGST Acts are there. And this particular article has been introduced or inserted with effect from 16th September 2016. Hence, from 1st of July 2017, they have implemented the GST. Because first there is requirement to change certain provisions in the constitution or to introduce certain specific things in the constitution, then only they can go for the implementation of the law. Okay, and this particular article is overriding. This particular article is overriding to article 246 and 254. That means this is the specific article which is applicable in case of GST. And in this particular article 246A, they have written that the GST will be applicable on these 5 petroleum products on a future date, that is petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation terminal fuel. That means they have specified these 5 petroleum products on which GST will be applicable on a future date. Okay, now why GST will not be applicable on these 5 petroleum products? We have already covered that the government is collecting at a higher rate of tax through these 5 petroleum products. Hence, they are not supposed to applicable GST on these in current scenario, because the highest rate under GST is 28%, and now they are collecting around 40% from these 5 petroleum products. Hence, they are not charging any type of GST on this. Now they have introduced the sub part of the article 246A, and in that article 246A they have clearly mentioned that, sir, that parliament has exclusive power to make the laws in case of interstate supply. Hence, we have a IGST Act. I think this matter is clear in your mind that through Article 246A, they have given the concurrent power to the center and state to make the provisions related to GST, that is CGST and SGST. And through Article number 246A, subclause number 2, they have given specifically the power to the Parliament for making the laws related to interstate supply, that is IGST. Distribution of revenue between state and government will be through the specific provisions, and we know there is a GST council. That GST council is the governing body, and in this particular GST council, the decision will be taken through the majority in favor of the decision. 55th GST council meeting, 54th, 53rd, 52nd, or first GST council meeting. In all these GST council meetings, they are taking multiple steps, and while taking the steps, they are taking the permission or they are taking the votes from the member of that GST council. And 66.67% member is from the state government, and 33.33% is from the central government, that is union ministry. Then after, the decision will be passed. If there will be any dispute between the government or any state, in such a scenario, the same can be resolved by the GST council. That is what is the role of GST council, and GST council will decide when the petroleum product will become, what will be the distribution of compensation cess or compensation of the loss to the states, and distribution of revenue of the IGST and CGST amongst the central government and amongst the state government. That is what is the decision has been done by the GST council. That means dispute resolution, revenue sharing, and what new come in GST, all these things are taken care by the GST council, and this is the history, this is the constitutional background of this GST. Now, constitutional background is okay for everyone. Article 246A, Article 246A, or Article 246A subclause number 2, everything is okay for you. The GST council, the powers, the distribution of revenue, and the 5 petroleum products, everything is okay for everyone. Just confirm me once, so that we'll start our discussion on these sections part of GST. Okay, everyone, for your response in the chat box. Now, a very important section we are going to start. Okay, now from section number 1 till section number 6 we'll discuss later on. Okay, first we'll try to start our discussion from certain practical perspective. Okay, now the most important thing is that we all are filing the returns. Okay, because मैं GST implement होने के 7 साल बाद ये सारी चीजें डिस्कस कर रहा हूं, but I am just trying to discuss in a interesting way. Okay, now sir, we all are filing the GST returns, filing the sales figure, or paying the taxes through GSTR 3B return. We are also uploading the invoices in the GSTR 1 return. We are also filing the GSTR 9 and 9C return, and we are also handling the various type of notices. Okay, now what we are reporting in GSTR 3B, or on which figure we are paying the taxes in the GSTR 3B return, that is supply. I am not using the word sale, that is supply. Sir, why there is applicability of GST on supply? If I am going to transfer my property to someone else, then also GST should be applicable. That will also cover the definition of supply. Or suppose मैंने किसी को यूं ही कोई चीज दे दी, if I am provided certain things to someone, then also the same should be payable to GST. Why they have used a specific term, that is supply? So the point is that whenever we are implementing something, the first or foremost thing which we are deciding, that is the scope and the limitation. Am I right? Am I right? Whenever we are starting a new work, What thing first we are deciding, that is the scope of that work. Whenever we are getting a new work from anyone, or whenever we are getting the assignment of anyone, at that time also we are getting the list of scope. The same thing, when government has introduced the GST, they have first decided the scope, the limitation of this law. That, sir, yes, we are implementing the GST, and through this GST we are collecting the revenue from the transactions in the market, but the question is that on which type of transaction will impose GST, or what will be the mechanism for imposition of GST. Our client is sending the data to us, we are filing the same on GST and common portal, we are uploading the same on common portal, but the point is that, just think like a layman, that on which type of transactions the GST will be applicable, and how will determine that on this particular transaction the GST will be applicable. Hence, government has decided a specific figure point, and that is called as supply. So they written clearly that whenever there will be a supply, then GST will be applicable. Or I am not saying the word GST will be applicable, there will be a question of GST. So they have decided a baseline for applicability of GST, and you can say scope of the GST through this particular supply term, that whenever there will be a supply, yes, GST will be there. Okay. Sir, just one promise from your side. अभी हम लोग जितना डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, you just need to keep in your mind that point only. Okay, don't think the advanced level, the time of supply, the value of supply, the place of supply, the further implications. Okay, just think from this perspective. So through this particular analysis, government has found that yes, whenever there will be a supply, GST will be applicable. So one clarity is there, that yes, GST supply is there. Now government thought that yes, we have determined this term supply, but now we should provide the understandable definition of this supply to the government or to the public, so that they can easily understand the same, that these are the transaction or activities on which GST will be applicable, or these are the specific transaction or activities on which no GST will be applicable. So we need to provide that type of clarity, because yes, this is the base of complete GST law. Because for implementation of any law, the purpose is to collect the revenue. That is the basic purpose or most important purpose. So when we are saying that the revenue collection, then we first need to decide this supply. Hence, government has given the definition in a very specific way, and government said that yes, whenever there will be a sale, whenever there will be a transfer, lease, disposal, rental, in that case, yes, the same will be treated as supply. That means when I am going to sell a particular product or provide any services, that is sales of services, that will be treated as supply. Whenever I am transferring any goods or any right, that will also be treated as supply. Whenever I am providing my any building, my plant and machinery on lease to someone else, that will be also called as supply. Or suppose government thought there may be chances that someone is going to dispose of certain assets, and in actual there may be chances that the person is not going to dispose of, that person is just planning that if I will dispose of, that no treated as supply, so no GST. Hence government has included the word disposal, that whenever a particular person is going for the disposal, that will also be qualify the definition of supply. Or whenever someone is going to provide something on rental, then also the same will be treated as supply. Conclusively, government wants to say that whenever there will be a goods or whenever there will be a services, when someone is going to transfer these things, that will be treated as supply. But the question is that government is saying that if will not impose certain conditions or restrictions, then how we can decide the scope, then how we can decide the scope or the limitation? Hence government said that whenever there will be a sale, transfer, lease, disposal, agreed to be disposal for a consideration plus in the course or furtherance of business. Now suppose if government is not going to, if no, government is not going to give this condition in the course or furtherance of business, in such a scenario the normal person who is doing certain activities or who is transferring certain goods or services not in the course or furtherance of business as a personal relationship, in that case also GST will be applicable. So there may be unnecessary applicability of that law. Hence government has included this specific line that whenever there will be a sale, transfer, disposal, rental for a consideration or in the course or furtherance of business, then yes, the same will be treated as supply. Because if we'll treat the transactions without consideration, in that case there may be multiple transactions will be there in the industry but no flow of money. Yes, government wants to collect the revenue, but government also wants the flow of money in the market. So for that purpose there is requirement to insert a condition, that is consideration. Suppose sir, just for an example, I am a trainer for GST, and suppose I have certain idea about the AI tools. Someone, my friend or my relative, is coming to me and saying that Sachin yaar वैसे ही Sachin yaar, you are not handling the work related to AI, but I just require your suggestion regarding this AI related matters. So I have provided him that particular type of consultancy, not in the course or furtherance of business, so the same will not be treated as supply. So to exclude these minor issues, they have implemented these two conditions. One is for a consideration, another is in the course or furtherance of business. Is that okay? Rental deposit. Rental deposits. Sir, very soon we'll discuss on this deposit part as well. Yes, barter exchange will cover. Everything is there in our book. I just now want to clear the basics of this supply, then we'll include one thing, because I don't want to discuss everything in one shot. Now, yes, deposits are not covered under the definition of supply, but we'll share with you with logics. Okay. So that will also be covered in our yato today's session, in our tomorrow session maximum. Okay. Now, sale, transfer, lease, disposal, agreed to be disposal, barter, exchange, everything is there for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. These two conditions are there. Now, जैसे गवर्नमेंट ने हमारे बारे में सोचा, गवर्नमेंट थॉट अबाउट द person who is not doing certain things in the course or furtherance of business, one more important point is there. Government has inserted one condition, that is for a consideration or in the course or furtherance of business. Now suppose I have one asset, that is this pen, and I am transferring this pen to Mr. Sheshgiri. I am transferring this pen to Mr. Sheshgiri, or I have prepared one contract with Mr. Sheshgiri that, sir, I am not going to charge a single rupee from you for this pen. And now I am saying to the government that yes, I am making this transfer, but I am not doing it for a consideration. I am not getting any consideration from Mr. Sheshgiri. So I am just transferring the same. So no GST should be applicable. If these type of things will happen in the market, in such a scenario, in such a scenario, the point is that everyone is going to transfer certain things and saying that I am not transferring for a consideration, so no GST will be applicable. Am I right? So no GST will be applicable, and that person is not going to pay the GST. Hence government has inserted certain condition, and government said that yes, if you are transferring certain goods or services without consideration, without consideration, then also the GST will be applicable. If you are transferring certain goods or services without any consideration, then also the same will be treated as supply. So for that purpose, they have specified certain goods or services and they have provided the same, because if they are providing a particular list, then they should provide the same in a managed way. For that purpose, they have prepared the schedule and they have provided the number, that is schedule number 1, and in that schedule number 1 they have prescribed certain activities or transactions which is not for a consideration but in the course or furtherance of business, then the same will be treated as supply. Now I just want to read the language of the section of this supply. Okay, I am not going to disclose the section number, we'll discuss definitely. Now, if you will check the definition of supply, they have started it with supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, or agreed to be disposal for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. That means two mandatory conditions. One is consideration, another is in the course or furtherance of business. And they have started the definition from supply includes. Just look on the definition. If you will check, supply includes, sir, they have used the word supply includes. Why they have used the word supply includes? Because if they want, they may use supply means. If they use the word supply means, in that case the scope of the definition will be very limited. Means iska matlab ye hai, that means they have given a very limited scope of the definition. Supply means, now government is not able to interpret something or government is not able to add on something, but they have used the word supply includes so that they can take the interpretation of the section. They may add certain things in the future in the definition of supply because they use the word supply includes sale, transfer, barter. Sir, what do you mean by barter? Suppose I have this pen and Mr. Mahendra has this remote. Okay, in that case, suppose I want this remote and Mr. Mahendra wants this pen. In such a scenario, I am going to provide that pen to Mr. Mahendra, and for that purpose I am getting this remote from Mr. Mahendra. In such a scenario, there will be no any exchange of consideration, that means no any exchange of money, but here consideration is there. Through this particular thing, government wants to indicate a specific thing, that the consideration will not only be in a money. If certain money equivalent things will be there, in that case the same will be treated as supply, and yes, GST will be applicable. Otherwise, businessman is very smart, they may do certain transaction like a barter, so no GST, but government has included the same in the definition of supply. And now there may be one question in your mind, that sir, when you have given this pen and Mr. Mahendra has given this remote, in such a scenario on which value the GST will be applicable? So yes, we'll discuss the same at the time of discussion on the valuation, that how we can calculate the value of this type of transaction. Exchange. Yes, exchange may, there may be a involvement of money as well. License, rental, lease, disposal made or agreed to be made. For a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. Now we have covered a specific thing, that is, yes, there are certain activities or transactions, if no consideration is there, in that case, yes, GST will be applicable. Mahendra sir, if I am providing these type of services regularly, In that case, yes, definitely the same will be part of supply. But suppose I am not doing it regularly, someone has just come and, sir, you are interested in this AI, and can you please guide us in a simple thing, and I have provided that particular thing not in the course or furtherance of my business. In that case, yes, no applicability of GST. But yes, the thing will be that every decision will be based on our presentation. Okay, if I'm not going to prove that thing in front of departmental authority, then they may include the same in my liability. And that is what is the thing we need to learn from this particular session, this particular course as well, that how we are supposed to present the things. Okay, now, yes, we all have decided that yes, sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, agreed to be disposal will be treated as supply. So now, whenever we'll receive the profit and loss account and financial of our client, we'll first check the income side of the profit and loss account. Yes, there is any sales, exchange, barter, transfer, lease. You have paid the GST. You have shown the same in the GST return. That is what is our duty. So now, from today itself, when we start our learning from the basics, this is the responsibility of all of us, that now will not only file the returns of our client, will file the returns of our client with the 100% efficiency and efforts based on law. Now, the most important thing will start. Sir, yes, a particular transaction will be treated as supply. Now, question is that in our basics, we have covered one specific thing, that to provide the identification to the goods or services, government has given certain HSN code and SSC code, so that they can identify each and everything. Sir, in case of industry license, sir, in case of industry, there are certain machineries, and certain persons are providing that machinery for use for 5 to 7 years, and they are providing it as a license, that I am providing you the license to use this machinery for 5 to 7 years. After that, this machinery will not be usable, or renewal is required, and they are charging a license fee for that. So that will be liable to GST, that will be treated as supply. There are multiple certificates are there in the market, that is license they are providing to run a particular business, to run a particular machinery or assets, and that is also example of this, and they are charging the license fees. So yes, GST will be applicable on that license fees. Am I right, RP sir? Are you okay? Now, as we have covered that in case of goods or services, government has given the identification number from the perspective of identification as HSN or SAC code. So now the point is that when we are saying that this transaction activity is treated as supply, now the question which is very much important is that this supply is a supply of goods or supply of services. I also need to decide that this supply is a supply of goods or supply of services, because if the goods, in such a scenario, the same will be applicable for HSN code, or services for the SSC code. And also, sir, in case of goods, there are different rates are there on different products, and in case of services, the different rates are there for the different types of services. To determine the rate, to determine the provisions related to valuation, to determine the provisions related to time of supply, provisions related to place of supply, there is a necessity to bifurcation as supply of goods, supply of services. In near future, when we'll discuss on the further sections related to GST, at that time we'll cover that the time of supply related provisions are different for the supply of goods, supply of services. Value of supply related provisions are different for the supply of goods, supply of services. Place of supply related provisions are different for the value of goods, supply of goods or services. Exemption notifications are also different. That means there is a very important role as to bifurcate as the goods or the services. Hence, government also knows this specific fact, that yes, this bifurcation is very crucial and very important. From that perspective, they have provided one specific schedule that is called as schedule number 2. And in that schedule number 2, they have given the list of goods or services, and they have given the specific mechanism that these type of supply will be treated as supply of goods and these type of supply will be treated as supply of services. So in schedule number 1, they have specifically mentioned that these are the transaction or activities which will be treated as supply, whether for a consideration or not for a consideration. Schedule number 2 is specifically for the determination of supply of goods or supply of services. Now, sir, there may be chances of a specific thing. Government may specify certain goods and services on which the government is saying that we are not supposed to charge any GST on that. That means we are not going to charge GST on that particular type of goods or services. That means the same will not be treated as supply, but they have to provide the same, they have to specify the same. For that purpose, they have given a specific list which will be treated as neither supply of goods nor supply of services. And for providing a managed thing, they have given that list one number, that is schedule number 3. And in that schedule number 3, they have specified the list of goods or services that is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Sir, supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, agreed to be disposal. Whenever we'll check the financial statement, we'll check all these things in the course or furtherance of business for a consideration. But suppose if no consideration is covered in the schedule number 1, activities and transactions, yes, the same will be treated as supply. Now we have to decide that this particular supply is a supply of goods or supply of services. So for that purpose, we have schedule number 2. And suppose in financial statement you found certain transactions which is covered under schedule number 3, that is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. That means no applicability of GST. Sir, basics of this supply is okay for everyone? Are you enjoying the session? Are you getting the points from a very basics? Okay. Because once we'll cover these basics, and then it will be very easy for us to understand the advanced level. Okay. Although आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा when we'll start the advanced level and when we'll conclude the session. Okay. Sir, non-GST supply we'll discuss. Just wait. Schedule number 2 is specifically for the determination that this activity or transaction is a supply of goods or this activity is a supply of services. Yes, definitely, Megha ji. Vishnu sir, we have just given the headings of the schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3. Although we'll discuss in a very detailed way about the schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3. Okay. So schedule number 1 is a specific schedule in which we'll decide certain activities or transactions if not for a consideration, although the same will be treated as supply. Schedule number 2, if a particular transaction or activity that we have decided that this is a supply, now we have to decide that this is a supply of goods or supply of services. That will be schedule number 2. And schedule number 3 is the neither supply of goods nor supply of services. There may be certain goods or transactions which will not be treated as supply of goods or services. Hence, government has given a specific schedule, schedule number 3, that is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Is that okay? Now, let's start our discussion in a detailed way about this supply. But before moving to the detailed discussion, I think you should know the number of section. So this is a section number 7, which is related to supply, and which is a very important section. And if you have attended the memory technique related session, then you already know the memory technique for section number 7. S for 7, S for supply. So this section number 7 is related to supply. S for 7, S for supply. Now, sir, when we have started our discussion on this section number 7, that is supply, supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, agreed to be disposal for a consideration or in the course or furtherance of business. Okay. That means whenever there will be a transaction or activities which is in the course or furtherance of business, then only there will be applicability of GST. Now, suppose if a particular activity or transaction which is not in the course or furtherance of business, then also the GST will be applicable or not. That is what is the question. So for that purpose, they have specified, they have clearly specified that if there will be any import of services and that is not in the course or furtherance of business, then also the same will be treated as supplying. That means suppose I am providing the GST training related services, okay, and I am declaring the turnover in my GST returns and I am getting the input tax credit and claiming the same. Okay. Now, this is my business, you can say. Now, the point is that suppose I have taken certain technical consultancy from Germany, or suppose I've taken certain technical consultancy from Japan. Okay. And that consultancy is not related to my business. उसका मेरा GST ट्रेनिंग से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. There is no any relationship between the consultancy which has been taken by me with my business. Now, government specifically mentioned that if someone is going to import any services which is not related to his business, then also the same will be treated as supply. And in case of import, for your kind information, I just want to share that in case of import, yes, GST will be applicable under reverse charge mechanism. We'll discuss the concept at the time of import and export. Now you just need to keep one thing in your mind, that if any this business person is going to take any services from outside India which is not related to the business, then also the same will be treated as import of service and the same will be treated as supply. Now, just try to understand it with one practical example. While checking the financial statement of your client or while checking the ledger of your client, you found a specific transaction of your client with one foreign entity. You ask the same about your client that, sir, this is the transaction in which you have given amount to the foreign industry, so this amount is related to you. Your client is saying that, sir, this is not related to my business, this is my personal consultancy I have taken. But we need to suggest that this is an import of service, and yes, you have not taken it in the course or furtherance of business, but the same will be treated as supply. Now, you may say that, sir, suppose this person is going to make the payment from the personal account or from the wife's account, from the children's account. In that case, how will find? Not an issue. Take the services. Okay. If the same will be there in the books, in that case, this is a concern and we need to discuss it. But the point is that now we all are not checking these type of things in the income tax audit as well as in the GST audit 99C. We are merely focusing on the reconciliations 3B, 1, 2B, 2A. यहीं पर ही अटके हुए हैं. But sir, these are the things which is also very, very, very relevant. If you are involved in the income tax, I know, I think maximum of you are also involved in the income tax audits. Am I right? You all are preparing the audit reports or working on that. Okay. So while going for the income tax audit or while scrutinizing the ledger, in that case you also need to be very much careful these type of activities or transaction if you found, you can also suggest your client from the GST perspective and you can impress your client. Okay, because in this particular course we'll also share with you certain techniques how you can attract the client, how you can retain the client, how you can grow your practices. Japan technology example is okay related to import of service. Now one more important thing, suppose any club, any association, multiple clubs, multiple associations are there, and they are charging the membership fees from their members. Okay, if any club, any association is going to charge any type of membership fees from the members, in that case, yes, the same will be treated as supply and GST will be applicable. That is what is also included in the definition of supply. Is that okay, sir? Now we have covered, yes, supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, agreed to be disposal for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. If no consideration, in that case we have schedule number 1. And how will bifurcate supply of goods or services? For that purpose we have schedule number 2. And neither supply of goods nor supply of services, we have schedule number 3. Now the most important point, sir, we are no limit is there, no limit is there from the members perspective. If you have a single member and you are charging a membership fees and you are registered under GST, yes, definitely GST will be applicable. We have decided supply of goods, supply of services, all things we have covered. Now when we are saying supply of goods or supply of services, they have taken a specific note in this specific section, section number 7, and they have written that if government is saying that this supply of goods is not a supply of goods, this is a supply of service, and this supply of service is not a supply of services, this is a supply of goods, in that case you have to treat it like that. That means government has the supreme power to decide that this is the supply of goods or supply of services. That is what is also the functionality which is available in the hand of government. Now all the activities or transactions by a person other than an individual, that means club, society, to its members or constitutes for cash, deferred payment and other valuable consideration, the same will be treated as supply. Import of services for a consideration, whether or not for in the course or furtherance of business. The activities specified in schedule number 1 made or agreed to be made without a consideration, and will decide that this supply of goods or supply of services, that is through schedule number 2. And schedule number 3 is going to specify that is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. And this section number 7 subsection number 3 is saying that if government is saying that this supply of goods is not a supply of goods, it is a supply of services, you have to treat it. And they are doing it by the notification. This is my supply. Supply should be of the goods and services. Supply of anything other than goods or services like money, security does not attract GST, because money is not included in the definition of goods. And when a particular thing is not a goods, in that case, how you can go for the applicability of the GST? And the important component is your for a consideration or in the course or furtherance of business. These are the two very important component of this term supply. Sale and transfer, we have already covered. Sales means when I am going to sell a particular goods, and when I am going to transfer the ownership of the goods for a limited amount of time or for the whole economic life, that will be called as my transfer. Barter and exchange, barter is the only goods, involvement of goods, but in case of exchange there may be chances of inclusion of certain money related element. License, lease, rental, disposal, everything is okay. Now sir, just take one example for the disposal. Suppose I have one plant and machinery, and I am going to dispose of. Yes, you are disposing of that plant and machinery, but you are getting the 5,000 rupees. Yes, GST will be applicable on that 5,000 rupees. That is what is my term: lease, license, rental, and disposal. We all should know the practical crux of these definitions, because when we know the practical crux of these things, then only we can implement the same in our day-to-day practices, and we can check from the financial statement and decide the applicability of GST. Now, consideration is a payment. Consideration need not always be in the form of money. It can be a money or in kind. It covers anything which might be possibly done. Now, just for an example, we are saying that consideration will always not be in a money. Suppose I have given a donation, to one Goshala. Okay, I have given a donation to the Goshala for 1 lakh rupees. And for that donation to the Goshala, there is a contract between Goshala and me, and Goshala is saying that Mr. Sachin, your training selected board will display in the front gate of our Goshala. So in such a scenario, I am paying a donation of 1 lakh rupees to Goshala, and for that particular donation, Goshala is going to attach my board, advertisement board, on the front gate of that Goshala. That means there is an involvement of the consideration for that donation. I am paying the donation of 1 lakh rupees, and for that donation, I am getting the display of my board in front of the Goshala. And the display of the board will be treated as the consideration, and GST will be applicable. Hence, whenever we'll analyze the financial statement of our client, we just need to check that if there is any donation which is booked in the books of accounts, we just need to directly ask, sir, any advertisement due to that donation, or there is any other thing which you have received due to that donation? Because, sir, if you will not ask the same, and at the time of departmental audit, business audit, if that person is going to ask these things, in that case your client will say that, sir, what you were doing, you have checked our books of accounts from audit perspective, from 99 perspective, we are also checking our books of accounts for return filing, but you have not considered these things. So we just need to ask these things from our client, and this will also create an impact. Artwork sent by artist to galleries for exhibition is not a supply, as no consideration flows from the gallery to the artist जब तक वहां पर वो supply sale नहीं हो जाता है, because multiple artists are going to share that particular paintings or the things to the galleries, but galleries are not paying anything, so the same will not be treated as supply. Course or in the course or furtherance of business, if there will be any transaction in the course or furtherance of business, that means due to business and for the business. Just keep two things in your mind: for the business and to the business. That will be called as my in the course or furtherance of business. What type of GST input tax credit in case of donations? If you are paying donation, then they are not apply the GST on that, and they are not going to provide the invoice related to GST because donation is exempted. Okay, but without reflecting, if you are getting something, then yes, in case of departmental audit, they may treat that donation as the consideration and they may impose the GST. Otherwise, if you are paying something and getting certain services or displayed that the counterparty, if implementing or imposing the GST, that person is not going to provide the invoice with the name of donation. They are providing the invoice with the name of advertisement fees and all these type of things. Okay, is that okay, Bhavesh ji? Now, in our today's session, we have started our discussion from the constitutional background, the Article 246A, various lists we have covered, list number 1, list number 2, list number 3. We have also covered the Article number 246A, and due to that article, the GST is here in the current scenario. Okay, Parliament and state government both has power to make the laws. 5 petroleum product on which the GST will be applicable on a future date, and the same will be decided by the GST council. Okay. In case of interstate supply, the laws has been decided by the parliament. Article 246A, subclause number 2. 75% majority is required, and they are going to resolve the dispute, they are going to distribute the revenue, and they are also going to work on the compensation of the loss to the state. Then after we have started our discussion from a first trigger point related to applicability of GST, because why this is a trigger point? Because through this particular point we are deciding that yes, GST will be applicable or not. Hence, this is the first trigger point related to GST, that is supply. And government has given a very wider definition, that is supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, disposal, agreed to be disposal for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. That means two main component, one is for a consideration, another is in the course or furtherance of business. But suppose if no consideration and the activities or transactions are specified in schedule number 1, yes, the same will be treated as supply. Once we have decided this is a supply, then we have to work on supply of goods, supply of services, and for that purpose we have schedule number 2. And also there are certain activities or transactions which are not treated as supply of goods or services, that is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. That will be treated as neither supply of goods nor supply of services, and in that case also they have given a specific list. And also government has power to treat a supply of goods as a supply of services, or to treat a supply of services as a supply of goods. That is what is also the power in the hand of government. Also we have covered the specific definition of sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental, everything, so that whenever you will go for the scrutiny of the financial statement, you can easily found these things. Now in our next session, that means in our tomorrow session, we'll start our discussion from the schedule number 1, then we'll cover schedule number 2. We'll share with you a technique that how you can remember the schedule number 2 and schedule number 1. We'll also share the schedule number 3, neither supply of goods nor supply of services, and also we'll discuss on certain special examples related to the financial transactions, and also we'll discuss on the composite and mixed supply. Tomorrow we'll meet sharp at 8 p.m. Sir, currency exchange, just give me thoda sa time. We'll discuss currency exchange because tomorrow we have a financial transactions related discussion. We'll definitely discuss your concern related to currency exchange, and it will automatically be covered. Harish sir, one basic concept is GST is there. When you are claiming the input tax credit, then only your liability is to pay the output tax. And when you are not claiming the input tax credit, no question of applicability of output tax. Government is saying that when you are availing the benefit, then only you need to pay the taxes, and the same thing is applicable in your case on your capital assets. If you have not taken the input tax credit while disposing that particular assets, no need to pay the output tax. Okay, we'll cover this point same in our tomorrow session as well, when we'll cover our schedule number 1. Export of services, sir, thoda sa time. Lalan sir, thoda sa time. We'll discuss import and export. We have a separate topic. Also, I request everyone, try to keep this notebook with you and the book with you, and जो pages हम लोग cover करते जाए, those pages we are covering in our session. Just try to write the notes in that book as well. Okay. So, sir, whatever will be your feedback for our today's session, just put it in the chat box. And heartily sorry because we have no session since last 4 to 5 days due to Holi, due to Saturday, Sunday. Then I was on family function and certain tour traveling related to the leaves. So family को भी happy रखना जरूरी है. So I was at there. So that is the issue. Books related issues, sir, you can do one thing, just WhatsApp me individually. I hope related to your book, the same may be returned due to certain reasons. Okay, so my team is working on that. They will respond you by tomorrow morning regarding the concern and issue. Definitely you will receive the response. So thank you everyone for joining, for listening with us tomorrow. Mahendra sir, in case of motor car, GST will be applicable only in case of the margin money. We'll discuss that point as well. Okay. Just give me 4 to 5 days. Yes, for those, the course is not activated for certain participants due to certain technical issue, I think, because we have already activated the same. But definitely, our team is working on that. By today, late night, all the courses will be activated. These two courses will be activated in your ID by tomorrow morning. You can check it down. Okay. So, thank you everyone for listening, for joining. Tomorrow we'll meet sharp at 8 p.m. Thank you once again. Bye bye. Good night.